Hello and welcome back to my channel. So for any of you that don't know me or haven't seen any of my videos, my name is Claire. I have a very tiny flower farm where I grow flowers, pumpkins, different vegetables, but I also keep chickens. Um, I started keeping chickens because one, just purely for the enjoyment, and two, I thought I could sell the eggs alongside the flowers and the vegetables from the farm. So I started off in November 2020. Yeah, November 2020 with 14. I got a mix of varieties. I got leg bars, cucamarins, leghorns, amber stars, black rocks, bluebells, a few different varieties because I wanted to have all the mix of the different eggs because I thought it would kind of make mine stand out from your run-of-the-mill box of brown eggs. And they sold really well, so I decided that I think it was around April 2021 I added to the flock. I got 10 more and I had 24. Now unfortunately last October one of the chickens died. Sorry, you'll have to ignore me, this one is pecking my toes, please stop. That's what I get for wearing open toe sandals in here. So one of them unfortunately died of shock because the fireworks were really bad at Halloween, and I found her in a corner in an absolute tizzy, and God love her, she didn't make it. So I have 23. So I've decided, because the eggs are selling so well for me, that I am adding to my flock, and tomorrow I am getting 12 more chickens, which will bring me up to 35. Bit of a random number, but that's all the Purple Poultry Palace will hold comfortably for now, and I don't want to stuff them in too much. So today I'm just going to go through how we clean out our chicken coop, why we've designed it the way we have, and just generally get it ready for the new arrivals coming tomorrow. I'm sure there's people watching this video here thinking to themselves, straight your one, what is she like? What is she wearing? I'm cleaning out a chicken coop. I'm not going to the races. I am in my farm clothes, and I am not going to put on my good clothes just for the sake of a YouTube video. What you see is what you get. So, sorry, I know I look like I'm in a dirty black sack, but you're just gonna have to shoot it. So when we first decided we were getting chickens and our thoughts turned to coops, we decided to make our own because it was just, although it's still expensive to build, it was a lot cheaper than buying one this size because chicken coops are actually very expensive. And the one thing from talking to people who kept chickens we kept hearing was that a lot of the coops that came weren't the easiest to clean out. So we really bear that in mind when we were designing this one. So what we did was we had it that the back can completely come off, and then a piece of wood at the front is on hinges so we can drop it down. Now in an ideal world the chicken coop would be tall enough that I could put the wheelbarrow directly under it, but because we have the galvanised above it, I just use it's actually a snow sled that I just sweep the stuff straight into, throw it into the wheelbarrow, and then I bring the wheelbarrow around and dump all of the used chicken bedding into the compost bays. And then it's very important obviously with a compost bay that everything goes in like in flat layers, so I just use this spade to flatten it out and make it even over the top of the bay. Once I have all the bedding swept out of the coop, I go back in with my brush. Now this is a very rigid bristled brush, it's nearly like a deck scrub, and I just go in and I give the whole floor a really good going over, and then I have a garden hoe that I keep specifically for cleaning out the coop. It's really good, it's like a scraper, and I use to get that to get in between all the little gaps and cracks and scrape out any dried in poop. And as you can see, just using the two of them I get it pretty clean. Now on odd occasion I will go in with the deck scrub and some water and some dish soap, but that doesn't need to be done every time. But what I try to do after each time I clean it out is give it a spray with this. So it's a spray I've made up myself, and it's basically just vinegar and essential oils and a bit of baking soda, and it keeps the coop nice and clean, and it means you're not using any harsh cleaners or chemicals. Once I had the coop cleaned, my husband very kindly went in and put in a third roosting bar. So chickens like to roost at night. And even though with the 23 I had, they didn't fill the two bars, I didn't want them to be too squashed on top of each other. So we've put in a third bar. And what he's done as well is he's slightly rounded the edges of these bars, because if they're left with like sharp square edges, it can actually hurt the chicken's feet. So they've been slightly rounded. He bought the wood already planed all over, which means that it's smooth, there's no dangers of splinters. And then he will put nearly like a strut underneath the bar, between the bar and the floor, like you can see on the other ones, to support the chickens, because it actually gets kind of heavy and it dips in the middle with a few of them sitting on it. So just to give it that bit of extra support, he puts in a support strut as well. This is just quality control in to do an inspection on the new roost bar. Thankfully it passed with flying colours. So this is what I use for chicken bedding. It's just a finely milled wood chip. I think it's for doing stables for horses, but it works fine for chickens. This whole big bale, I don't know if you can see it, that cost me €9 in the local hardware. Now they do stuff for horses as well, so I suppose anywhere that does horse stuff, you'll be able to get this. You can buy like the smaller bales of this in like the pet shops, you know, for doing like guinea pig cages and rabbit cages and stuff, but it's very expensive when you buy it in small quantities. So if you have a big coop like this, I would suggest going to anywhere that does equestrian supplies and get one of these. I get about 3 fills of the chicken coop out of this, so it works out at €3 a week to change the bedding for the chickens. And then it doesn't go to waste because it all goes into the compost. And then sometimes as well, actually what I meant to say is, I don't know if you can see here on the ground, so the front half of the coop under the perches where they sleep at night is usually the one where most of the poop is, because they're standing there up in the perches at night shitting down onto the ground. So I push all that out to the front with whatever like of this wood shavings that it's mixed up with, and that goes into the compost bays. Generally the wood shavings in the rooster boxes here to the back are quite clean, so I actually sweep that down onto the ground because they drag it under the coop and use it like a dust bath, so none of it goes to waste. So €3 a week, and ultimately it gives me compost at the end, so it's not really costing me anything. But definitely if you're going to try cut down on your costs and you have the space, go get a big bale like this. Definitely worth it. When I first got the chickens, I used to fill their nesting boxes with straw, but I learned pretty quick that they didn't like it. They used to just pull it out of the nesting boxes and just leave it thrown all over the floor of the coop. So I cut that out pretty quickly, and it cut me down in expense as well. So that's the fresh bedding added. As you can see, like, I use a third of the bale, and you actually get a decent coverage out of a third of the bale. You could do more if you want, especially during the winter if it's a bit colder, but this time of the year, this is loads. Okay, so all done. As you can see, I have about 2/3 left, and this is why I was saying I don't put on my good clothes when I'm doing the chicken coop, because it's a very dirty job. The last thing now I have to do is add in some of this oh Jesus, hold on. Diatomaceous, don't know how to say that, sorry. Earth. Basically what it is it's just like a grey powder. It's made from, well, it's mined from fossilized hard-shelled algae. I'm no expert in it. I just know that basically, it's really good for the chickens because, first of all, in the coop, it kind of helps deal with any mites. So any kind of hard-shelled insect, apparently, like mites and things like that, it just basically dries them up and they die. And you want to keep the mites out with the chickens, because if the mites get into the chickens, they just drive them mad. It's completely organic. There's no chemicals, there's no pesticides. So it's very good for the chickens. It's supposed to be very good for their overall health as well, apparently, especially for their feet and things like that. So what I do is I add a spoonful into each of the nesting boxes, because when they're getting themselves in and they're rubbing themselves in the nesting box, it's getting in under their feathers and it's kind of dusting them, so it keeps the mites out. And it helps just kind of keep the coop dry as well. As you know, they kick it around like that, kind of dries out some of the poo, so it's not sitting there wet and attracting flies. So overall it's a good product. Now this is a 5 kilo, and I have had this since I got the chickens back in 2020, so like a spoonful goes a long way, do you know what I mean? Can't get it open now, but I'm just going to go and add some of it to each of the nesting boxes. I should add a safety note here and say you do not want to inhale this stuff. So consider maybe wearing a mask when you're putting it down, especially on a windy day like this. I actually think I'm going to start wearing a mask when I'm cleaning the coop out as well, because I could kind of feel this going into my lungs, and that is not good. Okay, so last but not least, I am putting some fresh herbs in. One of the things I've learned about chickens, from reading about them, and that is that they respond really well to natural, I want to say preventatives rather than remedies. So for example, the stuff I used to give them every so often to keep their digestive system free of worms and parasites is a completely organic natural remedy, and it's all like herbal oils like clove oils, thyme, lots of things like that. They respond really well to garlic. Apple cider vinegar is great for them. So I like to give them all them sorts of things to keep them as healthy as possible, because I want to avoid like antibiotics or anything like that. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in some fresh thyme, because that has antibacterial properties. I am putting in some lavender to try chill them out a bit, especially with the new girls coming tomorrow. And I am just putting in some mint because it keeps the coop smelling nice and fresh. Now they will probably tear them apart and eat them. It will do them no harm, but it's all good for the coop as well. So I'm just going to throw the mint in, and I am going to just throw the thyme in. There's no point in placing things or putting things where you think they're going to stay in a chicken coop, because they'll do what they want in them. And then I'm going to just like crush up the lavender and put it in the nesting boxes in the hope that when they're in nesting it will chill them out a bit. But that's it. I've the feeder is full, the water tanks are full, I've got my apple cider vinegar in the water tanks, and we're all ready for the new arrivals tomorrow. Okay, so I just arrived to pick up the chickens. There's a queue there. There's like 5 people ahead of me. They're getting chicken, so I'm just gonna sit in the car. No point in standing out in the wind. So this is the same crowd that I've got my chickens from previously. I don't know if I would say that it's a company that I'm 100% happy with. I don't think they're great. I've had issues with them in the past, not bringing the right chickens that I ordered, or there was a bit of a mix up, but they are kind of the best value and the easiest to get from, which is why I go to them. So I think I touched on it yesterday that the eggs are selling really well, which is why I'm getting more chickens. So basically, the way I look at it is that whether I have 1 chicken or 35 chickens, which I'll have now, it still costs me the same amount of money to build a coop as well as to fill the coop with bedding. So the only thing really that goes up expense wise for me with the chickens is the feed. Now I go through a 20 kilo bag of feed a week with the chickens. It was cost me €11.50 at the start of the year for a 20 kilo bag of feed. It's now gone up to €13.50. So that's enough for the 23 chickens. So I'm going up by like 12 chickens. So say that's another 10 kilos of food a week. So even if it goes up to €14 a bag, it's really only cost me an extra €7 a week, whereas I'm getting say $2.50 for 6 eggs. So I'm going to be getting like say a $5 worth of eggs a day from taking on these 12 chickens, but they're only costing me €7 for the week. So that is why I'm getting the chickens. And I was actually laughing with my husband because people in work have started ordering off him, and like it's unreal. There's one guy that's ordering like 12 eggs 3 times a week. So I was like, okay, these chickens are your work chickens. That's what we're calling them. So that is why I am getting more chickens, because then the more money I make, the more money I have to put back into the farm. And like, the important thing is that like that not only are they covering all of their own costs, they're making me a profit. So that's why we're getting 12. As I said, I'm not getting any more because that's the space I have for them comfortably, and it's only fair on them. I don't want to pack them in too much. But also in Ireland, there's these like funny rules about keeping chickens. So if you have under 50, you don't really have to abide to too many rules if you want to sell your eggs, apart from the fact obviously you have to put the date of lay on them, and then obviously like your welfare standards, like you have to give them a good home. But once you go over the 50, there's a lot more regulation about selling your eggs, and you have to have special like egg packaging centres and stuff set up. There's a lot to it. So that's why I like to keep it under the 50. I mean, who's to say in future if I won't expand and I'll end up having 47 chickens? Who knows? But for now, I think 35 is enough of a commitment. So I'm just going to go queue here and get the new babies. Oh, and I don't know if I said I'm getting 12 Rhode Island Reds. I am going with the Rhode Island Reds because they're really, really reliable layers, and that's what I want, because some of my other ones, like the leg bars, don't lay every day. They do like the kind of blue ones, like they might only do 260 eggs a year, whereas a Rhode Island Red will do 360 a year. So these really are going to be like little workhorses. They're going to really like just bang out the eggs. So that's why I'm getting. Right, I have the ladies. They are in the boot in boxes. You probably can't see them. They don't sound particularly happy, so let's get them home. So of course the day that we are getting the new ladies, it's after hammering rain. It's due to hammer rain all day. The run is already a bit mucky, so it's going to be fun introducing 12 new chickens to the swamp. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah? So good, no drama. That's not to say it won't happen, but for now everybody is behaving themselves. A lot of the new ones are gone in underneath the coop and they are digging away at the like wood chipping stuff. They seem fairly confident, the new ones actually. They were much better nick than the last batch I got from that crowd, and the last ones I got were absolutely filthy. They stank and they were very sheepish. These ones are actually in really good condition and they seem confident enough. One of them maybe took the hand off me when I tried to take it out of the box, but look, we'll get there. So yeah, all good so far. I'll do a video probably in a couple of weeks to let you know how they're getting on and how the extra eggs are sold. So thanks very much for watching.